right, welcome back. The show is Wake Up Sierra Leone here on AYV Television on channel 33, on the STV channel 399, on Radio FM 101.7, and on AYV Sierra Leone Facebook page. Join the conversation there. Share with us your thoughts and ask your questions on the issues being discussed here this morning. Now, Wednesday, August 24th, the President Bio appointed a 15-man investigation committee to probe into the August 10th riot that took the lives of citizens and security personnel. The committee would examine both the immediate and underlying causes, sources of financing, execution, and consequences of the violent act that has been concerned from the public on the independence of the committee. This morning to discuss the committee, we've been joined in the studio by Honorable Abdul Karim Hamid Kamara from the A.P.C. Interim Transitional Governing Committee, and Lawrence Williams, media and political analyst. Gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning. Good morning.
All right, and we were expecting from the Strategic Communications Unit of the Ministry of Information and Communications, Imran Sila, to be part of the conversation. But the producer is just informing me that Imran cancelled and said he is not making it to the studio. So we're open if anybody from the government can call and make in a contribution as the show goes on. We will be grateful. But our producer is trying very hard to see if he can get anyone from the government to respond to some of the things that will be said here this morning. Honorable, let me start off with you. Of course, even your party and the leader of your party in Parliament called for an independent body to fairly and with credibility and integrity look into the August 10th riot. The president on the 24th announced a 15-man committee that would be looking into the underlying causes, sources, I mean, those who financed, those who executed the carnage. First off, as a party, what do you make of, I mean, the people in that committee?
Samuel, thank you very much. I've listened to many speakers since the 8th to date on the saga around the country. And like many other people, let me don't waste my time to send my condolence messages to the security and the civilians who lost their lives during the riot and those who were killed after the riot. Samuel, these are not spontaneous events. These are not spontaneous events that just erupted one day. They started, we've seen a kind of a systemic event ranging from the Tombo incident, the Pademba Road, the McKinney saga, the boy that was massacred was killed just after election in Magboroka, the first killing by security apparatus. And in all of the situations, as members of parliament, either as individual or as a party, have called on governments to institute inquiries into all of those activities. I could remember in the last two sittings of parliament, my honorable self and the caucus leader for Bombali also called for the report on the McKinney saga. You know, Samuel, maybe if we have had all of those reports and committees being set in all of those issues, we will have understood the underlying effect of some of these violence and some of these protests, the history behind them and everything. But we find ourselves in a situation in which the voice of the opposition is like the voice of terrorists, in the words of the president. And therefore, whatever you say, even for the good of the country, is misinterpreted to mean a political point. So we keep calling, we keep calling, we keep calling, we keep calling. Finally, and we want to use this opportunity to thank many other Sierra Leoneans and non-Sierra Leoneans who've joined our call this time around to call on the president to institute an inquiry committee. We are very happy, at least for the very first time we have this kind of situations, and a committee has been set up. It's not the setting up of the committee. what has also come clear to the mind of many Sierra Leoneans, one, you're having, the investigation is going to be, well, we have a premeditated finding already.
In what sense?
Well, in the sense that almost everybody that I've spoken from the angle of government from the day of this, the activity to date has already pointed it out to the opposition.
So you're saying the government already has a culprit?
They've already found the opposition guilty in their minds, and people who have supported government in that same line with press releases, who've made open statements, are now also part of that committee. It's not just that. 90% or 80% of those who are in the committee are heading government institutions, and they are being paid by the government. They are answerable to the president.
What does that imply?
What it implies, if you're working for Gino Navo here in AYV, and Navo has said, because you're having a clash on the Leicester Peak site with SLBC, and Leicester Peak and SLBC is there, and SLBC is responsible, and it's okay, wise, you go and investigate. It has to take a blind man who is also deaf to believe you will not support the views of your employee. What
happens to my integrity and credibility?
Well, don't forget. In 98.1, the president told us already that we are in a divided society already, and there's nothing anybody can do.
So, are you saying these members are already compromised?
Well. It takes a man that is drunk not to think so. Because take, for example, the legal aid person.
Yes.
For me, he should not only not be allowed to be in this committee, she would have even resigned her position.
Why?
For how can you come out clearly? Don't forget, the position of legal aid is to aid people who are in conflict with the law, who cannot provide legal services for themselves.
Right.
And majority of these people who have been arrested, whether during the protest or after the protest in their homes, cannot provide 3 daily meat for themselves.
Has she done anything contrary to her mandate?
To blame the opposition? Did you see our press release before she was nominated into the committee?
I read that statement.
That is itself.
What exactly, in her words, do you consider blaming the opposition for what happened?
I need to be careful.
Go ahead.
I need to be careful. I have been one member of parliament who always watch my words when I'm in public. You know, we live in a world where you are assured of freedom of speech, but freedom after speech is not assured, and I'm not in the world of parliament. But when you read our message, it was clear. She was blaming all of our lines in our first message to the country was all against the opposition. The opposition must give chance to the president to rule. So in my own view...
I have a press release here. I'm looking at the Legal Aid Board Executive Director condemns today's violence protest, calls for calm and face-to-face engagement. Condemns the violence and calls for calm.
Okay,
and face-to-face.
The press release came after a public condemnation of our personal view. What you have there is the institutional...
I also have a personal view.
Go ahead.
In which she said... if I'm to go through that, forgive me if I'm to go through that, she said, today, I mean, this was on the 10th of August, today is really unfortunate and disgraceful for Sierra Leone. I thought after the special court and the sentencing of the perpetrators who appeared before it, Sierra Leone would not face this again. Imagine police officers or the innocent lives lost in the riot today. No one can call what took place today as a protest. It has been brewing for a long time, like you said, since the elections finished and His Excellency retired Brigadier Bio came to power in 2018. A spade must be called a spade. When the late Solomon Berewa lost elections and the A.P.C came to power, SLPP never gave this level of unrest. Why now? You know, everyone needs to know that Sierra Leone does not belong to any one set of people, but all of us, we the people, are not afraid of any lawless set of people who do not believe in the rule of law.
Samuel, it's clear.
In what sense?
When Solomon, in fact, the comparison tells you she's already said the opposition.
Is that how you've seen it?
That's how the nation sees it. In fact,
she said the SLPP never gave such level of unrest.
So meaning,
so why now? So it could be why the SLPP is doing that now. I mean, in the eyes of other people. So why are you interpreting it in that way?
I know you are not our PRO, and don't let the public judge us here on what she said. We are just saying...
We're not judging. I'm asking questions here.
We are just saying she does not fit to be in that committee.
Okay.
That's one.
Right.
And those other people who are in that committee that are government-paid staff.
You have Emmanuel Safa Abdullahi as the chair. I just want to run through the names so that you help us. I just want to run through the names.
I'll not go through them one after the other. If you are heading a government institution and a person is also part of the security sector, because the investigation is not just going to be on the protest. The investigation should also cover the people, the security apparatus who were also in the protest. So if you are part of the security apparatus and you are also part of that committee, it beholds for justice sake. We want fairness in this. Samuel, we've been accused as a party for many things. Even when there was a skyrocket in fuel, the First Lady said the A.P.C is responsible. So A.P.C has been blamed for everything. I am even afraid if the mudslide that happens these days, they will not also say the A.P.C has pushed the rain to come again. You know, we've blamed for everything. For us, we want to see a credible, factual, and a responsible report. We don't doubt the credibility of some of the people, not everybody in the committee, but some of the people in the committee on the fact that they are still holding governmental positions without the reports that will come out.
Lawrence, let me hear from you. The A.P.C is raising something very critical and crucial. That since the incidents on the 8th, the 9th, and the 10th occurred, every blame from government side has gone to the A.P.C, to the opposition, claiming that they are responsible, they have financed, they have... In fact, for the government, this was an attempt to overthrow a legitimate government elected by the people of Sierra Leone in 2018. And now the same government is instituting or has instituted a committee of which some of the members in that committee are government employees. What does this speak to having an independent investigation at the end of the day?
Now, I've listened to and read several arguments for and against the composition of the committee. While I do respect and hold that the views expressed or the criticisms expressed by some sections of society are very much legitimate as to the composition, the integrity and credibility of the committee, I, however, hold a different view. In the sense that, one, normally when situations like what we witnessed August 10 happened, it is usual, it is commonplace for people to take to social media, either their personal accounts or some other fora, to express personal views regarding what has happened. So it is not something that is uncommon. Now, in this instance, some of the individuals who are part of the committee initially had expressed personal opinion, casting aspersions here and there.
Right.
That's, for me, is their right to free expression. When something happens, I may also take to my personal account and, you know, express an opinion on the situation.
Which is constitutionally guaranteed.
Yes, with regards their role as members of the committee is to what? Investigate the immediate and underlying causes and to also provide recommendations to resolve, you know, or to address the issues going forward. Now, for me, I believe that one, the committee will be judged by the outcome of their investigation. Secondly, we should also note that there is a parallel investigation going on
at the Sierra Leone police.
Yeah, we have seen one with the CNN, which reportage indicts the government of extrajudicial killings. And those ones, I think that the committee should also investigate. And we also know that the Africanist press is collating, facts, figures, evidence of the events preceding August 10 and the things that happened after August 10. So those ones will be published as well. So for me, at the end of the day, I mean, the fact that our own president of the Sierra Leone Association of Journalists, who has been making the news for the very right reasons, is part and parcel of that committee. I so hold and strongly believe that should the committee deviate or attempt to skew any fact to cover up something, definitely it will be made public by our own president. So it's not everybody that's in the committee that one will say, oh, this person has already expressed a biased opinion, regardless of their biased opinions or prejudices. In 2012 or thereabouts, when Julius Maada Bio, as candidate of the APC,
SLPP,
the SLPP was stoned in Bo during the political campaign rally or whatever, the president then and his Baikoma instituted an investigation panel. I recall that SLAJ was also represented in the person of Kelvin Lewis, who was the president of SLAJ at the time, and some other government institutions, civil society, and what have you. At first, I mean, at the outset, there was public outcry from some sections of the public.
The credibility of the committee.
Yeah, regarding the credibility of the composition of the committee. At the end of the day, when the committee came out with its report, it even indicted a ruling party member of parliament at the time. I suppose that was why President Kouma refused or reneged to implement the recommendations of that committee. Now, we've had several bloody battles between A.P.C and SLPP since 1962 to date. When we first, when Sam Timaga, won the elections. The 1967 elections again was fought along tribal ethnic lines and what have you, and blah, blah, blah. We've seen so many bloody battles in the 70s, in the 80s, leading to the Civil War.
And they continue today.
Yes. So, for me, the TRC, provides that legal framework or theoretical framework for understanding the underlying causes of war and violence in this country, and as well provides recommendations, solutions to addressing them going forward.
I know. To
what extent?
I know there are many.
Gone to implement those recommendations.
There are many things that come into play when we're having this conversation. But coming back to the members of the committee, now, if the opposition is saying, in fact, we've been accused, we've been convicted of this particular crime already, and now you, who has accused and convicted us, you are now setting up a committee. What are you telling us? Are you not saying you want to double punish us? That is literally what the opposition is now saying, that already you have a criminal. So you just want to use protocols to now, validate your claims that you have a criminal. You also spoke about the investigation that the police is carrying out, which is, constitutionally their mandate to do. So and we've seen the way the Sierra Leone police have carried themselves. When they give out updates about the incident, they are only concerned about what happened with their personnel, with the force, leaving out the civilians, the other people who were killed. We've not seen updates. So are you not looking at a situation where already, the A.P.C is saying, in fact, but we know it's in for come up on this business. So how do we then, look at these members? You've just cited Ahmed Sahid Nasrallah, president of SLAJ. You have Emmanuel Safa Abdullah, who is the chair of the committee. You have from the Peace Commission. You have many other people who come into play, and of course the Legal Aid Board chair, who is being, and of course the Peace Commission has already been questioned there. What should be done to instill trust, confidence at the end? In this process? Now,
to start off, I think the president may have been misled or fooled to believe that the events of August 10 were largely a thought-out conspiracy to upend democracy and unseat its constitutionally elected government. Having said that, the role of the committee is very clear, and I think it should be, the committee is yet to be inaugurated. And I believe that normally the procedures are, at the time you're inaugurating the committee, you explicitly spell out its mandate, its tour, its time frame, and everything.
Yeah.
For me, the individuals, like I said, some of them expressed opinions, and it is their right to express an opinion. Not least that those opinions, you know, could influence, you know, the direction of their investigation. What I believe is that having set the committee, the individuals there now have a responsibility to prove to us, members of the public, that they are there, they will do their job diligently, free from bias and all external influences, including from that of the executive. Yeah. With regards to the opposition being castigated and blah, blah, blah. Now, it is not only knowledge of the truth that counts, but as much the acknowledgement thereof.
Right.
In Rwanda, for example, having gone through the brutal nature of genocide, the ethnic conflict, the tribal wars, and blah, 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 they preserved the knowledge of those crimes so that those generations coming after them would be able to see and understand what went wrong and why.
So they will not repeat it.
Yeah, because there is a saying that if you fail to educate, I mean, the future, yes, you know, Usai Komot, you know, Usai go and all of that stuff. So, again, besides that,
quickly, please,
there are other issues again for me I would like to point out to this committee.
Which are?
One, have had discussions with some people. These are individuals, members of the public, not necessarily state workers or civil servants or what have you. Few of the concerns that came up are, one, the civilian death toll remains a mystery to all of us, even after 2 weeks,
right,
or more than 2 weeks since the incident occurred.
And many have called for.
And many have called for an accountability for the civilian death toll. And that is one thing I think because the government seems to be dragging feet, or rather not want to come out and explain to us and give us facts and figures about the number of civilian deaths. Again,
maybe they are still investigating, and the only investigation that perhaps would have been completed, I mean, has to do with the Sierra Leone police, those who died, families compensated, given civic funeral, and of course the state honored them. That investigation has completed because the police has put out a statement as to how many police posts or stations were attacked.
I read the preliminary report of the police. That is clear. I mean, giving account of the casualties suffered on their own part, including the death of police officers. But there are growing concerns, and that has reached the international fora, that at such a point during the protest, there was some form of high-handedness on the part of the police leading to the preventable deaths of civilians, one of which is contained in the report aired on CNN, where a young man who was filming, you know, the activities of the law or security apparatus, he was shot right there, I mean, in his home.
All right. You know, stay there with me quickly. Let me bring in Honorable. So, Honorable, I mean, are you afraid? I mean, going back, since 2018, the A.P.C did not accept that. I mean, the party was defeated by the SLPP. I mean, bringing Julius Maada Bio as the president of the Republic of Sierra Leone. And owing to that, you still do not want to give peace a chance. So, I mean, this is the accusation, this is the allegation that this is why you are fomenting all the problems, disturbing the peace and quiet of Sierra Leone. Now a committee has been set up. You are afraid that this committee, I mean, of credible Sierra Leoneans would, at the end of the day, bring out the fact that would say, oh, the A.P.C is the problem. We said it. Is that a fair?
Well, I tend to wonder where on earth people are building these stories from, except if we are building these stories by City Council, the Green Building by City Council, then I'll start to understand. A party that does not want peace in Sierra Leone will not sit by after 10 of its members of parliament were removed and they did not call for a protest. A party that does not want peace will not sit by and allow government impose a speaker on them and they did not call for a protest. A party that does not want peace will not sit by and its senior comrades after elections, more than 20 of our comrades were arrested and sent to CID for weekend holidays and vacations, incarcerated, including our Secretary General then. A party that does not want peace will not allow itself for its party to be gassed, tear gassed, and on the 31st of May. And our opposition leader was shot on the foot with a rubber bullet. Yet still we were calm. A party that does not want peace. When we went for the Samoa's matter at A.C.C, the vehicle of the opposition leader, and I was in the vehicle, my very self, was smashed with tear gas canister. There was no call for protest. A party that does not want peace. People in our stronghold in Mile 91 were killed. The Tonkolimba incident.
So why wouldn't you trust this committee? Why wouldn't you trust this committee?
Let me come. One mistake people are doing is the A.P.C is a legal entity. The A.P.C is a political party that has rights to call for protest when situations that warrant protest. But in all of these situations I've warranted the protest. But we believe we still want calm and quietness in this nation. We've been in governance. We know the strength of the security apparatus. We know the strength and the patience of Sierra Leoneans. Don't forget there was an incident in Wellington where a young boy was killed by a police officer, and the people of Wellington carried the corpse from Wellington to State House then. And it was a large gathering of people. They were coming. And the police apparatus allowed them to come onto State House. They said they are going to give the body to the president because his police officer shot somebody. And the president collected the corpse and went back to Wellington and addressed the people. Samuel, it's not rocket science. Political protest in Sierra Leone will never materialize. I'll tell you one reality.
Quickly.
There is no politician in Sierra Leone, no politician, mark my words, in this 24th century that can call anybody to the street. The people will not even listen to you.
So you're saying all of what has transpired
has nothing to do with politics. Nothing, absolutely. I cannot even go to my constituency now, as popular as I am in my constituency, and tell the people, hey, let's go outside. They will just turn and look at you. You know, the people of Sierra Leone, we don't have a culture of protest.
If this has not,
our problem is, I told you earlier on, the president has alluded and have accepted on 98.1 that Sierra Leone is divided in itself. If you do,
have you not agreed on that? Is Sierra Leone not polarized?
Polarized by what?
Politically.
Well,
even by default. Let me ask this question. Even by default, is Sierra Leone not polarized? When you talk about the East and South, you talk about the SLPP. When you talk about the North, Northwest, or Western region, you talk about the A.P.C. Is that not the reality?
My party has constantly produced members of parliament from the South and the East.
Does that mean Sierra Leone is not polarized along those lines, along regional lines?
Well, again, it's different when you talk about political polarization And when you talk about ethnic sensitiveness, the question was not asked to the president to tell us about the political voting pattern of Sierra Leonean. It was asked at this point in time where the country is divided on political and tribal lines. What can you do as Mr. President? He said the country has always been political. And if you look at this list before us, 90 to 80% of the people on the list, except for very few, are from the same tribe and from the same region.
So you're afraid already that, I mean, the committee is compromised, and at the end of the investigation would not be independent and credible. Is that what you're saying?
The cabinet is dominated by this one region and one tribe. The police, the security apparatus are dominated by one tribe and one region. The committee is dominated by one tribe and one region. And the same people accusing us as a political party. Let me land.
I know. Forgive me, we do not have time. These are people, I mean, who you and I are paying, I mean, as Sierra Leoneans, from the tax we pay every now and then. They run, I mean, democratic institutions that we believe those institutions help guarantee the democratic tenet of a nation like Sierra Leone. So why not have trust in them? Because of the appointed based on credibility.
I'll tell you why we don't have trust in you know, let me tell you, sometimes when I have grown up in Sierra Leone. I am not fortunate to school in any part of the world, not even Liberia or even Guinea. I could remember in 1992, there was this famous program in SLBC, Let It Go, They Go, Ajakadi Johnson and other people. You came to the mid-90s, you have DJ Bass and Val Castle creating programs that allow people to vent out their anger. You came to the days of David Tambayo and other people. You know, it tells us our society is one in which people believe in people to speak for them. Politically, you have the likes of Timo Bangura, who you have political party. But what is happening in Sierra Leone is a situation in which, sadly, from 2018, this is where we have problem with our democratic institutions, as we call them. You have a situation in which, from 2018 to now, political parties like ADP, their leader, who has been a champion for advocating for people, is still languishing in Pademba Road. Even given bail, is still there. The people are losing hope. Members of parliament who have been advocates for those people, majority of us have been sent to sell one day or the other. You have political parties being scattered by the court. Let me come
at this point.
I know you don't have time.
We have about 2 minutes to round off this conversation.
Without 2 minutes,
you don't have 2 minutes. Lawrence has a minute in that.
Okay. when the people of Sierra Leone lose hope, when the people cannot speak freely, I can tell you sometimes when we come to this media or when we speak in parliament, we people in the whole community prayer for because they are afraid what is going to happen next. Don't forget, my very self, my house was attacked, vandalized, not during the protest, even before the protest at night. At a time we had a very critical situation. Don't forget the situation of A.P.C, our whip, who was almost killed at the beach. So we are saying, when you oppress the people's voice, the people will look out for a solution.
So would you trust the committee in a few seconds? Would you trust the committee to bring out some of these things you have highlighted? Or you think the committee would go with what the government has already
if you have
said?
A committee that is paid by the president after the president has accused the opposition of being terrorists and behind this whole thing, I don't.
Okay. Lawrence, what would be your parting shot quickly?
Please give me at least 2 minutes.
You don't have 2 minutes. You have a minute, please.
Well, so what we need now as a country is a sort of national movement comprising every stakeholder and people from diverse culture, language, tradition, religion, political perspective, including workers or those in the fields of human rights, non-violence, democracy, governance, social justice, sustainable development, women's empowerment, to join together in a grand alliance of social transformation. Now, people say that these issues, some of these issues are largely, this particular issue has been politicized, yeah? But let me say this, and we'll say it in a lingua franca for the better understanding of our people. Then, in the way them politicians they do, what they try to promote them tribal rhetoric, are all fake. I can give one simple example, and thank God, Awasamai, who is the executive secretary for the Peace Commission, you know, was there. We went around this country, during 2018, in the days preceding the runoff,
yes,
and to pacify, you know, what was brewing at that time. What we found out from the political parties, all this, when they say, oh, Wina Minde, Udena Makeni or Bombali, they don't begin Drebugo, then they persecute you, then they run after you, then they target you, everything. All those ones were lies. Now the same political party, A.P.C, SLPP, now the executive, district executive for that matter, that they call the people them, then give them money, say run, go and go tap in. So they created all of those, they fabricated all of those stories and push it out so that you have that situation.
So
where
evidently politics now don't create the problem.
That is the problem.
Thank you
and the executive secretary of the Peace Commission is aware of that because she was my boss at Women's Situation when we went around.
Thank you very much, Lawrence. We do not have time. This is where we end today's edition of Wake Up Sierra Leone. Just before we go, a quick reminder of our quote, which says, without dignity, there is no liberty. Without justice, there is no dignity. And without independence, there are no free men. And it comes from Patrice Lumumba, a Congolese politician and independent leader. With that, many thanks to our sponsors, Local Commercial Bank and Chicken Town for their support to the show. So we'll meet again here with interesting topics. The show has been Wake Up Sierra Leone. My name is Samuel Weisbangwa saying have yourself a good and very eventful Tuesday.